Hello, I'm Simon Owens, and today we are asking the question: is Politico actually worth $1 billion? So why are we asking this? Because a few days ago, the Wall Street Journal reported that the German media conglomerate Axel Springer is in talks to acquire Politico. And today we found out from the New York Times that the asking price that Politico's leaders are asking for is $1 billion. And that would be a huge number. Like, just to give you a little bit of context, a few years ago, Axel Springer bought Business Insider and it paid $500 million for that. So Politico is asking for twice as much. Several years ago, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post and he paid, I think, like, I don't know if it was 250 million or 300 million, so less than a third of what Politico is asking for. So this would certainly be one of the largest media acquisitions in recent history. So is it worth $1 billion? Well, let's start with the revenue. Politico generated $200 million, according to the New York Times, within the last year. And for context, BuzzFeed generated somewhere around, based on all its different properties, but generated somewhere around 421 million within the last year, and it's asking for $1.5 billion valuation in its upcoming SPAC deal. So there's definitely a disparity there in terms of earnings ratios to what the actual asking price is. What about the business fundamentals? Well, Politico is a well-diversified company. It has this free website that covers, day-to-day DC politics, and it's able to generate a lot of revenue that way through advertising because it caters to advertisers who wish to access Washington influencers, who want to, reach people who work on the Hill, congressmen, people who work at agencies like the FCC or the FTC. People will pay, or large companies will pay a lot of money to be able to reach those influencers. But there's also this product called Politico Pro, which is a subscription product. But unlike subscription products from like the New York Times, which only cost a few $100s a year, the Politico Pro costs upwards of tens of thousands of dollars, and it kind of like basically focuses on like policy minutia that caters to really well moneyed interests like lobbying firms, special interest groups, Wall Street hedge funds, people who can afford to spend thousands of dollars on this product. Think of it as similar as almost like the Bloomberg terminal, which cost upwards of $20,000 a year. And then it also has like a very robust live events business, although obviously because of the pandemic, that's probably taken a hint, but they host a lot of events, especially within Washington, D.C., with policymakers, with influencers and journalists, and then they don't charge for admission. I think most of these are free, but they will charge money to sponsors to the event, and they can charge a high premium for that. But Politico isn't well diversified from a content perspective. Like, obviously, it focuses on politics, and politics are really only relevant to the average consumer once every 2 years, and usually only for a few month periods, like basically the 2 or 3 months leading up to either the midterm or presidential election. So that's like, in terms of if you're buying a company for its potential reach, that reach is going to be somewhat limited by the political seasons, whereas something like Business Insider, like tech and business and things like that, that's always going to be relevant year round. It launched a tech publication, Politico did, called Protocol, I think about a little over a year ago, right when we were heading into the pandemic. But almost right away, Politico laid off a bunch of his staffers, cut his staff in half. It's really unclear if it's going to be a massive success. It could be a really big success, but it's still kind of an unproven product. So for the most part, Politico's power center is still within Washington, D.C., still focused on politics. But so what is the motivation for Axel Springer buying Politico? Well, it already owns Business Insider, which has a lot of clout within the business and tech communities, and it probably wants more influence over the other power center, which is politics. And Politico definitely is probably one of the top like 3 or 4 publications in terms of political influence. But is the $1 billion price tag worth it? I think it's worth noting that Axel Springer, it has an already existing relationship with Politico. They've partnered together on something called Politico Europe, which is basically a version of Politico that's in several different other countries. So it probably has like a unique understanding of how Politico works and what it's like to collaborate with it. So there might be some good synergy there. But why is this $1 billion price tag being floated around? And let's admit it, startup founders love that nice big round number to sell their companies for. They like to think that they created a unicorn, even if the business fundamentals aren't there. And so I think there's a little bit of ego that is driving this asking price. And I don't think ego is a good way to set your market price. So will Axel Springer pay that amount? I guess it depends on how badly it wants into the political market. It was reportedly kicking the tires on Axios as of a few months ago and passed on that. So if it really wants it badly enough, maybe they can convince themselves that it's worth $1 billion. But it seems like that price tag is well above the business fundamentals. Okay, that's all the analysis I have for you today. Make sure to subscribe on this channel and check out my newsletter. You can find it at simonowens.substack.com. All right, see you later this week.